One of the 10 characteristics of being in the flow state is clear goals, objectives, rules, and expectations. So knowing that something's being done in a certain way, like red pointing versus on-sighting, completing the route, completing the red point. So very well-determined things that you can actually measure the success and how you're doing within a well-defined criteria of rules and expectations. One of the characteristics of the flow state is One of the characteristics of being in the flow state is that concentration. One of the characteristics that have been identified One of the characteristics that's been identified for the flow state is having concentration and focus being required to execute on that activity that you are engaged in, that kind of has you get into that flow state. One of the characteristics of flow is that you've got loss of self-consciousness. You're so absorbed in the activity and it was requiring so much concentration and focus that you don't care about who's watching, like how you look to other people at all. So you're so absorbed that you lose that self-conscious, that ego. One of the characteristics for flow state is a distorted sense of time. That can either be that things slow down or things go very, very fast. So before you know it, you're at the chains, or things felt like they were going in slow motion. So a distorted sense of time. One of the characteristics for the flow state is that you get immediate and direct feedback. So in climbing, you actually know that you're climbing well when you're in that flow state. You know that you're grabbing the right holds almost intuitively. You're making these movements efficiently, and you're feeling that and getting that direct feedback. One of the characteristics of the flow state is that you've got this feeling of personal control. That when you're doing that on-site, when you're doing that red point, when you're doing that climb, that it's all you. You are in control and you're 100% responsible for the outcome that you are absorbed in that activity. One of the 10 characteristics of the flow state is that the activity you're engaged in is intrinsically rewarding. That means you love it. You would do it. You would do it just because you really enjoy it. And that's true for climbing, for most of us who climb. We just would do it no matter what. So just that intrinsic reward of doing the activity itself. One of the characteristics of being in the flow state is that you lose total track of your own bodily needs. Thirst, hunger, sometimes that you have to go to the bathroom, even discomfort and pain. So you're so focused on what you're doing, you're so absorbed in what you're doing that you lose track of these things. One of the 10 characteristics of the flow state is total absorption in the activity. Total absorption in the activity. Nothing else matters. When you're in the flow state, you are 100% engaged in that activity and just getting that direct feedback, and nothing else matters. You can't hear other things, you can't see what's going on, and you just don't care because you're totally absorbed. One of the important characteristics of the flow state is a balance between the challenge required and the skill that you have. So it's got to be not so hard that you don't stand a chance, and it can't be too easy so that it's a walk in the park. So it's got to have a pretty good chance of you being successful in that activity, but not a sure thing. So really matching that skill level and challenge is absolutely critical for getting into the flow state.